All right. Reiki Skills Lodge, my friends. I'm just gonna mute you guys for now so that it doesn't do any weird echoey stuff. Um, Welcome. This Reiki Skills Lodge, I was just saying to Leanne, I planned it back in March. I think I planned what each of the months were going to be and decided to do for November the Reiki Metta meditation. And it's not part of my sort of standard, it's much more leaning into the Buddhist stuff than the sort of shamanic and Shinto inspired stuff that I like to play with. But it's one I've always really loved and I wanted to put it in. And at the time when I planned it, I don't think I realized quite how much in need of this kind of compassion, softness, heart healing and loving kindness we were going to need as a world at this point in the year. I just had no idea what was going to be going on. We are all so much in need of it. There seems to be lots of division and lots of tension and things going on. And because of the type of work that I do outside of my Reiki and as part of my Reiki, it's very sort of magically focused, right? So we're so often looking to go deep into the work, to do things like cord cutting or block removal, or to go like deep into shamanic journeying or deep with the drum. We're working, you know, lots of people, although this class is suitable for complete beginners to Reiki, lots of us who come to these are Reiki masters. We're teaching, we're working with our clients, and we're just trying to really bring in very directed healing, where we're like working, a lot of us I know work with deep trauma and you know, severe illnesses and things, and sometimes those really more simplistic ways of working with Reiki, those more sort of gentle ways of working, we kind of forget about them, and we've got that Reiki flow going through us while we're working. So we are getting that healing, we are in touch with that energy, and this sort of loving kindness, this compassion stuff is a core part of what Reiki is and what it's all about. And so we are getting the benefit of that, but sometimes I think we're so focused, or certainly I get so focused on what my clients are working on specifically and what my students are trying to achieve specifically, that I forget to do the most simple tasks that are part of the Reiki work, the most simple ways to, not tasks, the most simple ways to connect, the most simple parts of the energy. So I wanted to put the Reiki Metta meditation is because it's such a delight, really, to just sit in the heart energy of it and just be in that place. When we do Reiki as a practice, we work from the tanden, just beneath and behind the belly button, and that is our main energy center, our center of gravity to do the work. This is where we draw the connection down into our body from source, coming down through the crown into the tanden. But as I have talked about before, and as some of you know well, there are 3 tandens in the body in the Japanese system. The first of them is where we are connecting in with earth ki, sort of corresponding to that first Reiki symbol, and we're working from here. This is our presence, our true self being made manifest through actions, through material acts and material manifest things. And then we also have one up here in the head, in the third eye. That's where we connect with heavenly ki, and we can do that with the second Reiki symbol if you've done your Reiki 2, and that's sort of true self, but in this sort of, again, taps into this loving kindness idea, this non-duality thing, non-judgment. So we use that kind of energy to work through mental and emotional issues, breaking of habits and things like that, but we do it by kind of detaching ourselves from judgment of those things, and it promotes this sort of wider vision. And we also have one that's in the heart center, which is in the center of the chest. This one is part of it's the same center that's used in the yogic systems from India. And here we kind of unite heaven and earth, and it's the place where we have our connections with the world. Our giving and receiving all operates from here. In Celtic shamanism, they're called the three cauldrons. They're the three tandens in Japanese Reiki work in the original system. And Franz and Bronwyn Stein, when they talk about it at the International House of Reiki, they call them the three diamonds, which I really like as well. And we operate with all three of them, but we're primarily focused on the lower tanden, because when we're doing Reiki for other people or channeling Reiki to do stuff even for ourselves or to fill the space, we are operating in a material way. We are earthbound. We want to be grounded in our body. I wanted to come into the heart center, and as this was coming up, I was like, perfect timing, time for us to be in our heart center where we unite these things. And the Reiki Metta meditation, which, by the way, is not found really in Japanese Reiki. It's a Western Reiki thing. It is a total rip-off of Buddhist stuff. But I don't mind ripping stuff off. As long as you say where it came from, I think it's fine. Just steal things as you go. And that's definitely what's happened in Reiki here. And so it lends itself to Reiki and opening that heart center in a way I think that we really need at the moment. But before we do it, I wanted to go into the reason why it's such a brilliant thing to have in Reiki, which is the fact that we are operating always with the Reiki precepts in mind. Maybe not consciously, but subconsciously, we all know them. And sometimes we repeat them to ourselves. Sometimes we remind ourselves of them. But sometimes we do that when we can feel ourselves going into something that the precepts guard us against, right? So do not worry, or do not anger. Those things are things we can feel ourselves doing. And then that's when I'm most likely to be prompted to remember the Reiki precepts and kind of delve into that. And also just for today as a precept in and of itself, when I'm thinking too much about the future or about the past, that's another little mental jolt for me. But the precepts as a whole also talk about compassion, and they talk about them a lot. So there's a few translations of the Reiki precepts. There's loads of different versions depending on your lineage. This is the version that I got in my lineage. The secret of inviting happiness through many blessings, the spiritual medicine for all illness. For today only, do not anger, do not worry, be humble, be honest in your work, be compassionate to yourself and others. Do Gassho every morning and evening, keep in your mind and recite. Quite often we miss out the beginning bit and the end bit, and we just say, for today only, or just for today, do not anger, do not worry, be humble, be honest in your work, be compassionate to yourself and others. But the other parts of it, the longer form, and when you see them written out in Japanese and it's a lot of kanji there, it's because it has this whole bit there. It's those bits were also part of the precepts. So the secret of inviting happiness through many blessings, we think, rather than just the blessings of our life, which are obviously good and excellent, it's also through many blessings means through many empowerments or attunements, through many connections. So in the original teaching, you would have had a lot of Reiju empowerments or a lot of attunements. That's why at Reiki Evolution, the teachers all send out distance attunements, distance empowerments for people to collect regularly. Mine are always out on a Wednesday. You can always see my silly little face on Instagram on a Wednesday, making sure the algorithm remembers I'm still alive, with a little sparkly filter over my face saying, it's Wednesday, it's Raise Your Empowerment Day. But there's someone from Reiki Evolution doing them all the time. Taggart does his on a Monday, I think. My Reiki master does hers on a Sunday. Mine are on a Wednesday. So we should be receiving these blessings. That's the first of the precepts, really. A reminder that it's the spiritual medicine for all illness. It's to remind ourselves that Reiki is powerful and works for everything that we need to work on. For today only is a precept, is to remind us to be mindful, to be in the moment. Do not anger, we think, is not so basic as, oh, I don't get angry because I'm so spiritual, because that is nonsense. As we all know, we're all human beings and we all have anger, but it's like, don't act out of anger, don't carry anger, don't respond from that place. Do not worry. Again, our mind will do that, but it's not to judge ourselves for worrying, but to bring ourselves back into our center. Be humble. No big spiritual egos. We know this trap in the work. Be honest in your work. Means really be honest in your dealings with other people, be in integrity when you're in dealings with other people. So not necessarily your work as in your livelihood, but in your movement through the world, really. And then be compassionate to yourself and others is essential for us to not be angry and to not be worrying. And being compassionate to ourselves is first, and then others is always something for us to remember. Do Gassho every morning and evening, Gassho being the prayer position. We know that, well, say we know, I was told by Frank Petta, who's the German Reiki master who spent a lot of time in Japan. He says that the practice is to do 20 minutes just in Gassho every morning and every evening, and that's his practice. I will confess, I do not do this. I go through phases where I go, I need to do this, but I don't do it as part of my everyday practice. Hatsure is my standard Reiki meditation. But it's not channeling Reiki, but to just sit and focus on the point where the middle fingers are touching. And one of the reasons, obviously this is just quiet meditation that stills the mind, that's important for us to stay in alignment with ourselves so that we don't spin off into future tripping or worry or anger or any of those things. But as healers, our Java reminded us that sitting in Gassho for a longer period of time than you do in Hatsure allows us to develop sensitivity in the palms of our hands. So if you sit there without actively channeling Reiki, but to just be in this position, you get the added benefit that you start to feel energy moving in different places in the hands, and then you find that you are more sensitive when you're working on other people's bodies. So it's just a useful little tool. It does make us better Reiki practitioners. So every now and again, I would chuck it into your practice if you can. And then keep in your mind and recite is, of course, our reciting of the main precepts so that we can remember them. These precepts, whatever version of them you got in your own lineage, there's different translations. They are really old, and Uzui was also a person who nabbed other people's teachings as he went along. We think they are a wording from something that was written in the 9th century for a Tendai sect of Shugendo, which is basically an indigenous religion to Japan. And in some ways it's quite Buddhist, but in some ways it's quite sort of magical. It's effectively kind of mountain, as you quite often referred to as mountain asceticism, but it's actually kind of mountain worship. It's an animist religion that believes that the mountains are gods in the ways that a lot of shamanic practices do. And so it's a lot of esoteric practices and workings that I consider to be quite magical. And Uzui was definitely aware of Shugendo, and he was in contact with a particular Tendai sect of Shugendo. The religion was put together in like the 7th century. These precepts have been dated back as far as the 9th century. Shugendo was practiced for years, and then it was made illegal in the 1800s at some point. And it wasn't legal to practice as a religion again until after the Second World War. So all these little, there's so much more than Buddhism and Shintoism knocking around in Japan. They're so shamanic, I swear to you. But this is what comes from the 9th century writings from Shugendo. Their precepts are: do not bear anger, for anger is an illusion. Do not be worried, because fear is distraction. Be true to your way and your being. Show compassion to yourself and others, because this is the center of Buddhahood. Kind of similar. And they are sort of quite a baseline teachings of what goes into becoming the Eightfold Path in full-blown Buddhism. It's a very interesting little thing to look back at. The compassion to self and others is present even in that very early version that inspired, we presume, because they're so similar. We presume that those things were inspirational to Uzui in putting together our practice. So before we go on to the Reiki Metta, I'm going to invite everyone to just take a minute to just close your eyes and sit in Gassho for a few moments. And you might want to connect into Reiki first. You might want to just come into the prayer position. Taking a couple of deep breaths. Reminding ourselves that this really is part of the central premise of Reiki. This is the path that we follow. The secret of inviting happiness through many blessings. The spiritual medicine for all illness. For today only. Do not anger. Do not worry. Be humble. Be honest in your work. Be compassionate to yourself and others. Do Gassho every morning and evening. Keep in your mind and recite. Kyo dakewa, I karuna, shinpai suna, kan shashite, gyo hageme, hito ni shinsetsu ni. Kyo dakewa, I karuna, shinpai suna, kan shashite, gyo hageme, hito ni shinsetsu ni. Kyodakewa I Karuna Shinpai Suna Kan Shashte Gyo Hageme Hito ni Shinsetsune. When you're ready, breathing yourself back into your center and placing your hands, palms down in your lap. Coming back when you're ready. Sometimes that's all we need to do. So that little bit of chanting is my Southeast London version of the Japanese precepts. Again, as taught to me by Frank Arjava Petta, who does speak Japanese but is German and was teaching them to me. So apologies if anyone is like, what the hell? But even with the pronunciation that is perhaps not perfect, that Kyodakewa I Karuna Shinpai Suna Kan Shashte Gyo Hageme Hitoni Shinsetsuni. For me, I feel like it kind of connects in with the energy of the precepts, and it brings in a little sparkling of energy, and I can feel it in my hands, and I can feel it around my body and around my energy field just by chanting it in that language. And I don't think it's because it's more powerful to do it in its original language. I think it's probably for us as Westerners, because it's like chanting Sanskrit. Even if you know what it means, I know that it means for today only. Do not anger, do not worry, be humble, be honest in your work, be compassionate to yourself and others. That's what that little mantra means. And likewise, when we are doing Sanskrit mantras, we know broadly what they mean, but it doesn't activate the language center of our brain in the same way. And so we end up just being able to feel the energy of the words and what it's bringing through, rather than thinking about it in the same way as we were saying them in English. So when I send this out, I'll send a little written version of it in the email when I send you guys the video link. But it's quite a handy little thing to do, to just drop yourself in within a couple of minutes to kind of bring that energy in. So now we're going to do the entirely Buddhist Metta meditation, which focuses on our heart center. And I'll talk us through it first. Metta means loving kindness. It's not a Japanese word. It's, I'm not sure what language it's from. I think it's a language that's spoken in India, I believe, but I'm not sure which one. But Metta means loving kindness. It is a Buddhist meditation, and we don't actually connect to Reiki or draw energy through in that way. We work with the breath and we focus on the heart. So I don't know, you can tell me when we've finished and we share how it felt to do it. You can tell me whether it felt like it was Reiki or whether it felt like a slightly different frequency. But basically, we sit with our palms on our hands, one over the other. So it's right hand over the left hand. I don't know, there's all kinds of little bits like this. So it's on our lap, not up, but just because, you know, as always, I'm pointing to bits of myself that you guys can't see. But with our hands sat in a way that's comfortable, left hand and then the right hand on top. With all these little practices that have come from Buddhism, like Kenyoku, the dry bathing, where you go right hand, right hand again. I don't fully know, to be honest with you, why it's that way around. But I will pass it on to you as it has been told to me, as I have found it. And then play around with it if you think that it can be the other way and see if it makes a difference. I haven't experimented with this one, actually. I've been oddly obedient. Left hand with the right hand on top. And then you focus your attention in on your heart center. And then we start to work with the breath. And basically, the focus, rather than the focus being on energy as such, the focus is on this idea of loving kindness and goodwill and generosity and acceptance, you know, compassion basically for yourself. But you work with the breath. So every in-breath that we do, we start to visualize the heart center opening up as like a lotus flower. So it kind of blooms as you are doing this visualization. So on every in-breath, that's our focus: goodwill and compassion to ourselves, loving kindness to ourselves. And then as we go along, it opens into a blooming lotus flower. And then we kind of feel that as energy, but we're not actively sort of connecting in with Reiki. On the out breath, then, we send energy out. So having felt this loving kindness towards ourselves, we are then in a position to direct it outwards. So on the out breath, we send it out through the heart, directly through the heart, as like a beam of light, sending out through the heart. So in breath, blooming, opening energy in the heart center. Out breath, sending it out into the world. And that's directing it to, I always read it as all beings rather than all people. So basically, everyone, every person, every animal, every plant, every tree is the idea. We are sending that out as a beam through the heart. And we sit with that for a while. And I'll be talking us through it, so you don't need to remember this. And then after a few minutes, the energy from the flower, we change our visualization. We've still got this big open lotus flower in the heart center, and we see the energy becoming a silver mist. It's very pretty. And then we like expand it outwards so that it's filling our body, we see it going into every cell, every part of us, so that we are filled with loving kindness towards ourselves. And then the next part, the final part of the meditation, is to expand out through the whole body in the way that we're used to if you do Hatsuei-ho or Joshin Kokyu-ho, expanding out in all directions as the silver mist rather than as the beam of light. And then we come back into our center and in the meditation. So it's not Reiki really, but in Western Reiki, it's quite often taught as a Reiki practice. Does anyone see Reiki energy as silver when they do the work? I don't tend to generally, so I'm interested to see how it feels for you guys. Yeah, look, a lot of people see it as purples or whites. Some people see it as blues. Lots of people seeing it as gold. Interestingly, I'm getting more people these days telling me that they're seeing Reiki as gold than I used to get back in the day, and some people saying that they used to see it as purple and now see it as gold. So I don't know whether that's us on our practice or whether it's Reiki itself as a frequency is taking on a different quality. I don't know. It's interesting to me. But we will work with it as it is taught as a Buddhist practice, to see it as a silver mist and see how that feels when we do it. So if you're ready, get yourselves comfy, and I'll talk us through the breathing, and I'll talk us through each of the meditations. I'll remind us of what we're doing at each point in the meditation, so you don't have to remember it. The book that I got this from is the Reiki source book, this particular version and wording. So I'll put a link to that book in the email as well, in case you want to go and reference it later. So our intention for this is that we are experiencing compassion, we are experiencing loving kindness, and we are directing this to ourselves, to our own heart, and then outwards to all beings on this earth. So with that intention in mind, I'm going to put on some pretty music in the background, which means I need to change the settings for musicians. Okay. Can you guys hear the background music? And you can still hear me because you answered me, so that's good. Okay, resting now into our intention. We are experiencing compassion, experiencing loving kindness. So bring your palms to rest in your lap, left hand underneath the right hand, in any way that is comfortable on your lap. Focus your attention on your heart chakra in the center of your chest, in the center of your body. With your intention, focus on the concept of compassion, goodwill, loving kindness, acceptance towards yourself. And as you breathe in, visualize your heart center lotus flower. With every gentle in-breath, allow the flowers of that lotus to open up in your heart center. Every in-breath, allowing it to open wider until all of the petals are open. And you begin to feel the energy of loving kindness growing and blooming in your heart. With every in-breath, allowing that energy to build and grow and bloom inside your heart center. And on each exhale now, sending that compassion, letting it expand out from the heart center as a beam of light. With every in-breath, your awareness on your heart center, blooming energy, loving kindness towards yourself. With every out-breath, the beam of light emanates out, loving kindness and compassion to all beings. Breathing loving kindness for yourself into your heart. Beaming loving kindness out to all beings on the out breath. Stay with a gentle, even breathing rhythm. Stay with that visualization. Breathing loving kindness for yourself into your heart center. Breathing out a beam of light from your heart, loving kindness to all beings. heart center. See that open, blooming flower in your heart center. See that energy, that energy of compassion and loving kindness. And see it now expanding beyond that open flower, moving through your whole body as a silver mist. Letting it move, expanding outwards from your heart center. Letting it come up into your shoulders and down through your arms. Letting it move down your back and down into your belly. Letting it spread down through your hips and your legs, right down into your feet. And letting that silver mist expand upwards as well, through your throat, up into your head. Feel that silver mist that contains that loving kindness, that compassion in every part of your body. And feel it in your hands, open and ready to receive as they are. Your whole body is filled with this silver mist, loving kindness, compassion for yourself, filling your whole body deep into your bones, going into every cell of you. And sit with that energy for a moment. Know that this overflowing energy of loving kindness from your heart center is so abundant that it can expand further. And let it now flow out in all directions from your whole body, emanating this silver mist out into the world. Silver mist expanding out in every direction as you send loving kindness to all beings. Loving kindness for the benefit of all beings. Seeing yourself in the center of this for a few more moments. Your body sat as it is in physical reality, with this open flower in your heart center, your whole body filled and bathed in a silver mist of loving kindness that is emanating out from your whole body in every direction as you radiate loving kindness to all beings. Know that in Buddhism and in Reiki, as we understand it, as we have performed this meditation, we have elevated ourselves, changed our vibration, and changed things for all beings who can be impacted by this meditation. Let the visualization of the silver mist that has been sent out from you dissolve and fade away. Bring your attention back into your heart center. Know that the loving kindness that has overflowed from your heart into your whole body has been absorbed and has healed you. Now, just close those petals over. Leave the heart a little open, but not wide open. Breathe yourself back into your heart center. And in your mind's eye, see and feel your physical body. Not the light that you've generated, not the light that you've spread into the world, not the light that you've bathed your body in. But you, a part of the collective, but a separate and distinct human being in physical form. Breathe yourself back into normal awareness. And bring yourself back into the room, into this space, into your physical self. Come back, my friends. How are we all doing? I can see movement. I'm going to trust that those of you without cameras are also back in your bodies.
I really struggled with that at first. I found it
Really?
I found it quite difficult to get into, but then all of a sudden it just clicked.
Hmm.
And I definitely saw the silver mist. And when we were sending it out, it actually went out as these little silver lotus flowers.
Ah.
Then it turned into like a silver pipe, and then it turned into silver diamonds that were being sent out. It was really nice. I really enjoyed it. It was nice. But yeah, I definitely saw that silver. And then when I came back into my body more, it was the silver that was then outlined in the purple, but then outlined even bigger in the golden light as well. So yeah, it was nice. It was very good. Thank
I
you.
find it quite a visual one as well.
Mm,
I see it as like, yeah, like a pipe. It is more like a pipe, like a beam, but for me, I see it as very, very solid.
yeah,
And
it
for
was
me,
very solid.
yeah, and for me, I see it not just coming out of the front of my heart center, which I don't know. It's hard to tell when these are. This is one that I've learned from reading other people's writings. It wasn't part of my Reiki lineage. I always see it coming out the front and out of the back. And I didn't want to say that because, first of all, I don't know if that's the intention of it, but that's how it always comes for me. And I was just interested to see how it would look for other people. But I see
Mm,
and feel it as that sort of solid pipe. As you
mm,
say, funny. I'm glad
yeah.
you, because I'm not sure this is like the shiny beam that I'm supposed to be, but it was very solid for me as
Very
well.
solid. It was like you couldn't look at it and think, oh, like it's a nice light that's beaming out. Like it was like a pipe, like a solid pipe, definitely.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah, same for me. Same for
And
me.
very
How's it?
visual, very, very visual.
Yeah. How's it for you, Nan? I can see you like. Oh, I
There
need
we
to
go.
unmute. There you go.
Yeah, it was. Well, see, I experienced it more like rain, like a
Oh,
silvery rain that was moving out from me. But I can also see that beam, but instead of coming straight out, it was more expansive. Yeah, and I can actually see that as being. I didn't necessarily experience it behind me, but I can see where it was more like it was all around. It was like it wasn't some. I think that's why I see it more as almost like a horizontal rain coming out, because it wasn't just a single beam, it was everywhere and just expanding out from me. And I found myself touching on and noticing where other people are in the house at the same time, and it's like I'm just kind of feeling where they are throughout the house. And
the closest beings that you were
yes,
blessing.
yeah, including the dog curled up next to me, who's been here since I sat down. Well,
They know.
yeah, dog tax.
Hello, gorgeous. That dog is stoned on Reiki.
Yeah, he's chill anyway. That's young Anakin.
Anakin.
He's chill anyway. But as soon as I sat down here, he just came up and curled up next to me, and just he's been sound asleep ever since.
Dogs are so wise.
Yeah, but I imagine he'll probably be running ragged around the house soon.
Horizontal rain. That's such a lovely way to. I could really see that when you said it. Like, I was like,
Yeah,
oh, yeah. everywhere.
Yeah.
Lovely.
It
Thank
is. It's like a sideways rain.
Yeah, fantastic.
Ah,
Lovely. Thank you, Nan.
aye,
And
good.
Joanne, I know that you can't speak on yours, but if you want to share anything and you want me to read it out, please drop it in the comments. And Sarah, if you have anything, no pressure if you don't want to share, but if you want to share, please unmute yourself and speak to us. No more sharings today. If anything drops into the comments, then I'll read them. Here we go. Here we have one. Also saw purple. Very relaxing, but also saw purple as I do with Reiki. You know, definitely with especially with the first bit, I saw sort of a purpley silver, almost like an iridescent kind of silver. I don't think we can take the Reiki tinge out of our energy ascending ever. So I get a touch of that. It was more silvery, but definitely a touch of the purple in there. And for me as well, I got really cold while I was doing that. And I'm trying to remember if I always get cold doing it. I think I usually do. This is I'm in my healing room. It's quite a little space. And I'm really close to the radiator and the heating is on. I was not cold when I started. But I've really felt the cold, and I quite often feel the cold when I work with the mental, emotional healing side of Reiki. That quite makes me cold. So I wonder if it's because it's closer to that frequency. I don't know. But I think I do normally get cold, but I don't think I normally get that cold. I got very, very cold, like shivery cold during that.
Can you
How
hear
you
me now,
doing?
Kay?
I can hear you, yeah.
Ah, right. Sorry, I'm not very good with all the settings down the bottom. Yeah, mine was similar to Nan's, I think. It was it almost felt like magical. I could feel it coming out from the front and the back, and it was almost like silvery, like glitter. So a bit like I experienced Reiki, like the soft specks of dust then. So it was like that, but like all silvery and glittery going out from my front and my back and then just going around. It was lush.
I love it. I like it being glittery, like loving kindness, but a little bit disco. I'm in.
Yeah. And I'm not a glittery girl.
I think it suits you actually. It's interesting, this like front and back. That's very interesting as well. I like to see the I don't know if I've ever even sat and done this one in a group. This is just one that over the years I've dropped into myself every now and again. I don't remember asking people how they experience it. So it's nice to have those sharings, and for people who are coming on for the recording afterwards to compare what they've felt and seen with other people who've done it. So thank you for the sharings, guys. That's all I've got for you tonight, my friends. Look at that. Love and kindness.
Thank you.
Hello there, little interloper.
I can't see.
Love and kindness throughout that person's house. Lovely. All right, my darling. So listen, I'm keeping it a little bit shorter than normal today. I just wanted us to really do that simple work today. Precepts, a little bit of Gassho, little reminder to love ourselves and love one another in these turbulent times in the outside world. We can tend more to our inner world. and to do that loving kindness metta meditation. Not strictly Reiki, but very much needed, and I very much enjoyed doing it with you all. It's so lovely to see you all. Thank you so much for coming, and I will send out the recording as soon as I get to it. I am video uploading woman. So I will get this to you at some point tomorrow morning, I reckon. And I send you guys lots of love. Thank you all, everybody. Loving kindness.
Thank you, Kay.
Thank you, Kay.
Kay, thank you so much, Kay. I've enjoyed this.
Thank you, darling. See you later.
Ta-da. Bye.